Welcome back to another episode of the Convo Sutra. My name's Tarun Shetty here. We got some amazing panelists. Some you might recognize, some, I guess, they're like the Desi's Charlie's Angels I've surrounded myself with. I'm really excited about this group, people. But for our audio listeners, let's just do just a quick intro so people know who's speaking.
Hi, I'm Naomi Parmar. I've been on the podcast before, and I'm Tarun's friend, and he comes to me for advice sometimes, so I'm doing it on a podcast.
I do.
Hi, I'm Ritu Mahindru, and I know Tarun from our days as co-workers at Showbiz India, and now I am carving my own path as a coach, a healer, and a wellness advisor.
I'm Ayushi Chhabra, also a friend of Tarun's, and I've also been on the podcast before, and happy to be here again.
Thanks so much for being here. I'm really excited. I'm a bit nervous because I got 3 ladies today. Normally we have a guy kind of balancing it out, but I want to thank you guys for coming by. I know we've done some traveling. Anybody have any fun stories to kick off this incredible podcast?
Well, first of all, I want to say happy birthday.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy birthday,
It's like Tarun's angels came to celebrate his birthday. So
Yes.
do we kick it off with like a happy birthday to you?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
Who
Okay.
has a better singing voice?
I don't.
This is your idea, Ritu. So why don't
Okay,
you-
let's go.
Okay,
1, 2,
2,
3,
3.
go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tarun. Happy birthday to you.
How old are you?
I'm 28. Thank you so much for
Okay,
this.
but how old are you really?
Oh, do we have to get into this? Ayushi, I love how Ayushi can just like throw. I was telling a mutual friend of ours, I was like, you know what's funny about Ayushi? Like, she just throws a wrench into the podcast because she knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
She totally knows.
But
Okay.
is discussing age for men a wrench, or is it because like you're in entertainment?
Because I'm in entertainment, but you can guess. You can IMDb me and look me up and just piece it together. I'm definitely not a millennial, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. In fact, I'm wearing these glasses because, like, now if I don't sleep well, because I'm out performing all night, like I look like shit in the morning. But before, I could just totally get away with how I came across. So,
I
yeah,
like glasses.
age is coming up to me.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though? I do feel like birthdays bring up a lot of things for people. Like either it's like an exciting time or it's like a time where you kind of like pause and like you reflect and then you're like, where is my life?
You know, it's funny you say that
Yeah.
because I was up for like a writing job and she was asking about my writing background and I mentioned, I write a lot because, I met Drew Carey once who said to write every day. And she goes, who's Drew Carey? And I was like, oh yeah, there's like a generation
But
gap.
I don't
Yeah.
know who is that?
See? He is...
Do you?
Drew Carey?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the reruns were on. Like, whose line is it anyway?
But
He
also
was
you
on-
came here at a later age,
I'm not
right?
from America.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
So
Nice
also,
try.
In all
I grew up in
fairness,
Africa. so-
yeah. In all fairness, you wouldn't know.
But you can feel that as you get older. Not making a dating show. I know you hate it when I do that. But like when I go out with younger girls, there's like this gap between the references. So sometimes it's nice to have that closeness.
Yeah. Like, I hate it when people don't know what Sailor Moon is, even if it's a guy.
Are you a Sailor Moon fan?
Yeah, you guys don't know Sailor Moon?
I was like,
She's like,
game face, pretend like you know what it is.
exactly.
No,
I was
but okay,
I literally
do
learned
know-
English because of
Oh, really?
the English dubbing of Sailor Moon.
Like I think I've
okay,
heard
okay.
Sailor Moon, like the name, and like it's a cartoon or something.
Yeah, it's anime.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Okay.
I should get used to people not knowing anime references, but I hope. I throw it out there. Hopefully.
Yeah. How do you learn English, Ayushi?
I learned English I went to English speaking schools. I'm like, wait, do I have to like reference a TV show? No, I actually went to English speaking school. So, I grew up in Chennai, which is like everyone speaks like either Tamil or English. So there's no Hindi or anything. And then I also went to school in South Africa and Nigeria, which are also English speaking. So, but I did watch a lot of Friends, and I would pick up like American like slang and lingo and like their style from watching Friends and watching some of these like popular American shows.
So this style was inspired by Monica.
What, this?
Yes.
No, this is just me. On Thursdays, I do this fast. It's for like Vishnu Bhagwan.
Oh, so
and
you
you're
have to wear
supposed to
yellow.
like wear some like yellow and like drink like haldi doodh and things like that. So Yeah, so I like to keep the culture alive in North Hollywood.
It looks cute.
No, it looks good.
Oh, thank you.
I learned Hindi, not Hindi. I learned English because I wasn't born here.
Really?
I came here, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I came here when I was 4 years old. I was born in India in a place called Bhopal, which people know because of the gas tragedy that occurred there with Union Carbide. There's like a whole Netflix series on it and stuff. Yeah, it's great, actually. I came here when I was 4, and I didn't know how to speak English. So I learned English watching Dynasty, MacGyver,
Oh, wow.
and Three's Company.
And he's like, one of those shows.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yeah, those were my shows. Like Suzanne Summers was on like, and what was the other, Jack's name?
Jack Tripper.
That was his name?
On Three's Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack
Oh,
Tripper.
yeah, okay.
Jonathan Ritter.
Yeah, and then Janet was on it. I don't know what Janet's real character or his name is. But anyways, but yeah, I learned how to speak English through watching those shows. And when my mom was called in for a parent-teacher conference, I was in kindergarten, they were like, well, she's really talkative, but she speaks in her own language. So can you like work on trying to teach her English? And my parents were like, no, that's what we brought her to you for. Like, we don't know how to speak English.
Yeah.
That's so cute. So yeah, but I mean,
Wait, your own language, like you would speak in Hindi at school?
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
But you need someone to understand it, or else it's like
it's cool with you.
I don't even think I realized because I kind of have a memory of just me talking. So clearly I didn't care if anybody was listening as long as I got to talk.
cute.
That is so
Yeah,
cute.
because we don't, I mean, my family did not speak English at home, and I was shy in school anyways because I moved around a lot. So you kind of need a TV show that you watch all the time.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon, Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke English and we spoke Thulu. My mom spoke Thulu, which is like this southern dialect. My Thulu was horrible to begin with, but now it's totally slipping away. But that's
Tulu
fine.
is Telugu?
Thulu, Tulu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Do you speak
that's close enough.
Telugu? No, I just did a Telugu film, so every now and then I throw these like lines, you know, just to impress.
One time I went to, I dated a Telugu girl, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, our languages are the same." I was like, "Oh yeah, they are." So I went to a Telugu movie. She's like, "Oh, you'll understand it." I had no clue what the hell was going on for like 2 hours.
But they're so expressive, so you probably got like understood some of it.
But I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I just like pieced that.
You know, I think like speaking English is one thing, but then also like when you go to different places, you also have to understand like tonality. Like I think when I came to America, they were like a lot of these acting teachers would tell me you don't just have to speak in an American accent, but you also have to understand like how they move and how like, you know, they're like flair or whatever. So they would be like hang out with like American people, don't have all these like Desi friends, like really just like hang out with like, you know, Americans and like see
Assimilate.
and like go and like observe people at coffee shops and like watch like a lot of TV shows and like just pick up like the pace, the tonality, the vibe. So they say that like the language is not just the language, but it's also the personality.
Yeah, it's kind of like sometimes when they have like those Indian movies, right? Like where it's the characters are NRIs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're definitely not NRIs
Oh,
because
yeah.
they are not acting like they grew up in America. They're literally like, I don't know.
They have different mannerisms.
Indian with like an exaggerated like foreign twist of being like stuck
yeah,
up and
that's
snobby.
true.
And I'm like, that's not really how it is. I mean, in fact, when I go to India, most of my cousins are like, can't even believe you grew up out there. You act like you're just from here. And I'm like,
Do you say that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like
I feel like I'm more Indian than them. Like they have more of a
In what way?
like as in I'm doing all these like fasts and stuff, and then I'm like, you know, let's like read like Bhagavad Gita, and they're like, what? Like they literally look at me and they're like, what? Like why are you so like Benji or whatever? Like why are you such an auntie? Like
You're reading that in the morning, like
You know why that is,
yeah,
though?
like,
Wow,
I
good for
sometimes
you.
like take pictures of like the Bhagavad Gita verses and I like post it, and then my cousins are like, ew. And I'm just like, why?
Oh, I
Like,
do see your
we're
Instagram.
cultural.
Aren't you like writing poems in like Hindi and stuff?
I do.
That's
yeah.
good.
That's like been my way to like express what I'm going through.
Do you
Yeah,
feel like
really
it's
just to get-
because our parents took us out of India at a time where it's like a time capsule effect?
Yes, you're
where they
right.
don't modernize. Like my parents aren't modern. And everyone assumes that they would be because they've left the country for more than 30 years. But I think it's because like the progressiveness doesn't come overseas as like you need to be in a country.
Yeah.
And like, you know, things change. And so their mentality or their ways of thinking about things are from like 30 years ago in India.
You're so right about that. I didn't even think about how, like, you know, we didn't progress with them. So it's almost as if we didn't really get to experience our culture fully. So we continue to like do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think what you were kind of alluding to as well is that like our parents kind of almost held on to the culture.
Yeah, that too.
Because they didn't want us
that's also
they didn't want us to
true. Yeah.
lose it, right? Because I think like part of it is like, oh, well, we're bringing our child or our children out of the country that we're familiar with, and we still want them to know that they're Indian and speak the language or eat the food and know the movies and the music and the dancing and just the religious aspects of it and whatever it is, right? Because like at that point, it becomes their responsibility to also help you stay connected to the cultural aspect, even if you're in America. It's kind of like, well, we can't strip them of like who we are either.
When I moved here, like shout out to my best friend Richa, who like literally was like so embracing of her culture, and I just loved like how free she was with it, and so like she was like just unapologetic about it. So I loved that about the way she conducted herself, and I was like, you know, I really want to express my Indianness too. And that actually was when I came to America that I became even more like cultural, because I would just look at her and I'd be like, she dances, she's still like American, but she's also like very Indian. She dances, she's doing her prayers, and like she's reading like all these like religious books and all that. And like she had such a good knowledge of like Ramayana, Mahabharata, all of it. And I was like, I love this. If she's not like, you know, ashamed of it, then why have I been so ashamed of it all this time? So
It's interesting you say that you were ashamed of being Indian.
yeah, in South Africa.
Were there a lot of are there a
Because I
lot
think we
of
got bullied a lot, right? We came from my brother and I and my family. We came from Chennai I was born in Delhi, but like we moved to Chennai for a bit, and then we moved from there to South Africa. And like in Chennai, we used to wear these like traditional outfits to school, and in South Africa, we'd have to wear like I'd have to wear like a skirt, and like people would like roll the skirt up and make it shorter, and I'm like, and people like hugging each other, and I was like, this whole thing is so different from like how schools were in Chennai. So like I would just like try to assimilate by trying to suppress the Indianness in me, because I would get so bullied for it, like eating like curry or having, and I was called like a samosa and things like that. It was just, you know, so I was just like, I'm just going to suppress this part of me and try to be like as white as possible. And then I came to America and I was like, I love how like my friends here really embrace their culture, and like they really are so proud to be Indian.
Also in South Africa, apartheid wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
It was
It's like
actually very
1992
recent. And
only,
so
yeah.
like when I had gone to South Africa and I was in Cape Town, I feel like I had never experienced segregation and the divide, which was surprising to me, as I had in any other place. Like, I think the benefit of growing up in LA and then living in big cities like LA, San Francisco, New York, I always kind of was, I don't know if it was like kind of like in a bubble almost, because all of those cities are so diverse and multicultural and we immerse with one another. But like when I went to South Africa and Cape Town, I was traveling with a friend of mine who is a white female. And she had said that she's like, it's going to look really interesting when we check in at the hotel, because it's two females and you're brown and I'm white. And I was like, what is that? I don't understand. Like, what does that even have to do with anything? And, but she was like, well, it's different here. Like, people will think.
Naomi, you've traveled probably the most out of all of us from your trips. Have you experienced this when you go abroad?
The percentage of a minority you are kind of makes a difference. For example, because we're in LA, we're not even in like the Bay Area, we're pretty spread out. And that makes it where it's a little bit of a different community versus London. So I've noticed Desi people in London they're just like very British and still embrace their culture a lot. But because there's so many of them, I think it's like 30%, don't quote me because I don't know like the number, but I think there's enough that they don't have this scarcity mentality about holding on to their culture, because there's so much great Indian food, great Indian events. And I get along really well, in particular with Indian people in London. They're just really chill.
Someone told me actually that London Indians are almost there's an incredible amount of racism towards Indians, but at the same time, like you see, like Rishi Sunak, who rose to unbelievable position of power there, which I don't know if that could happen here in America. So
I mean, you have Kamala Harris right now, who is part Indian and part black, so you have some of that.
I don't want to get into that, but
no, but I'm just saying, like, can that happen here? Chances are
sure, but
looking like it could.
But she anyway, I don't get into that. I don't get into that so much, but
I think your question is different, because I think how I address the question is like how Desis treat each other in different parts, and you can't help like native British people being racist against anything. I mean, it's but I've noticed that there's like a different cultural difference between Desis in London and the UK versus in America, for sure.
I think that because people from India went to the UK generations ago, that like, when we were saying that, our parents are still not as modern, like not all, but in some pockets, some of their parents have assimilated and just become very attuned to the British culture. And in some ways, there's just been a great melding of the two cultures where, like, when I meet like Indian British people, I would identify them more as like British, right? Versus like here, when I meet an Indian American person, depending on where they've been raised and how they've been raised, where they've even lived, they may be more, I guess, quote unquote, Indian than American.
Ayushi, you're an actress. How come we always cast these English actors over all the American actors? Have you noticed that here? In castings, like I always see these British actors everywhere in American TV, and I'm always thinking there's so many great actors born and bred here in the U.S. Yet we import these British actors. What is that infatuation?
Yeah, what is up with that?
And I'm asking you.
I actually do think those British actors are very talented, though. Like, I will say that they are very good at their job.
Don't you think because they have a greater population that their characters have to be written into this, a show more? It's more common for that to be the fact than in LA or in American stories. No,
I think we're infatuated with people who are different. Like years ago, I don't want to date myself, but when they were looking for a late night host, there were so many great comedians here in America, like struggling comedians. Yet they got like the guy from Scotland. I can't think of his name. And then they got
was it Oliver?
Well, him too. I mean, him, James Corden, I mean, there's so many guys they just bring from overseas. I'm like, dude, there's so many comics here who would love to do this, but they always go.
You're right. Like, to some extent, there is an obsession with like the other. But I do think there is some talent.
Ayushi, how come you haven't made it? I mean, that's what I'm curious about. I'm going to throw this back at you. I mean, you're different and you're from South Africa. You should be like the biggest star in the world right now, right?
So let me tell you something. I really tried with every audition, and I would like get a co-star or something like that, right? I actually got my real big break when I was back in South Africa. So my visa was denied end of 2020, and I thought that was the end of my career, and I had to go back to South Africa. And like for months, I was like, nothing's gonna come by. Like, what am I gonna like do audition in South Africa?
Yeah, I remember our date, and I put it in my calendar.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you brought that up.
You are so cute. Is it still in your calendar?
No, I'm sorry. Finish your story. I just wanted to throw stuff back at you.
So cute. What were you gonna do?
No, finish your story.
Were you gonna marry me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the offer's still on the table.
All right, you can finish your story.
By the end of this episode, we will be pronouncing Tarun and Ayushi.
Yes.
Yeah, on my birthday.
Ayushi Shetty. Shetty.
What?
Ayushi Shetty with
Chandi as an underwear?
As an underwear.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shetty.
That would be a great nickname for you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Finish your story. I don't want to derail
So anyway, in 2020,
your memoir.
In 2021, I was like, oh gosh, I'm never gonna get another audition. Like, I have to like start as an actor in South Africa. Like, what opportunities are even like available here? And then in March of 2021, I got an audition for a show for Netflix, and I had been auditioning for Netflix in LA for so long. And that was the part that I ended up booking because they really wanted an American Indian doctor. Like, what is the irony that like I would be in America and I wouldn't be cast for any American parts? Like, they would only consider me for like, Desi type things. But then I would go to South Africa and I end up booking like an Indian American doctor. So that was my first like real foot in the door. And since then, honestly, like I also feel like I could have had better opportunities once I did come back to LA, but I just started focusing more on like other things in my life, like trying to get married.
That's important.
I'm sorry, but like trying to get married is like a full-time job. Okay. So that became like the focus of my life, was just really trying to like stabilize myself, yeah.
But you're all single girls here. So, I mean, is it part of your life? Ritu? Let's go with Ritu.
You're making eye contact with
I know. Well, I
Naomi.
decided to switch it to you.
I think he was scared of my answer,
Yeah,
so
I
he
could
just
tell. I feel like you gave him the stink eye, and then he like immediately shifted into
No,
the
honestly,
that's just my face.
I'm telling you the honest truth. Like, I've actually heard her story like 3 times already. Maybe some things have changed, but I'd like to get to Ritu first and see.
Okay.
What was the question?
I mean, is
Is
it?
it a full-time job trying
Is it
to...
a full-time job trying to get married?
I feel like the older we've gotten, the benefit is we've discovered ourselves more because we've spent more time cultivating our lifestyle, cultivating our interests. At the same time, it becomes a little challenging because now we're so particular. And so therefore, going back to your question, is it a full-time job? When you get older, if it feels like work, it's because you are putting so much pressure onto it to make it be work.
But it's
when
also a
you're-
lot of pressure. Like there's so much pressure from society, from your
There
parents,
is.
from like people constantly asking, like, when are you getting married? Like you yourself put so much pressure on you. Like if you want to have children, if you want to like,
Sure.
that's
So
I just
have you
feel like there's
considered
too much pressure.
just going after a mate so that you can co-create and like make a child. You may make a choice out of desperation.
Yeah.
And that is the
Yeah.
other thing is like sometimes when, for example, like when females are not financially independent, we then also choose partners based on like, well, who can provide us stability?
Yeah,
who can,
yeah, for
who
sure,
can
yeah.
support my lifestyle? Well, you know what? In that way, you might not actually marry the nicest guy. You may cave into that pressure, and the next thing you know, you'll be that story that's like, did you hear about Ayushi? Bichari uska to divorce ho gaya. It's like what? Like first you were like on me because you were like, get married,
And
get
then
married.
I did, and
then
now
I
you're
got
like,
married.
Bichari.
You know,
and then
first
it's
they were
like-
on you to not hang around boys.
Oh yeah, there was
And then
that, yes.
2 years later,
Yeah.
why can't she get
Okay,
a guy?
such a
Yeah.
good point. Such a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's totally true.
I want to get Naomi's take on this.
I think you have to be able to negotiate on your behalf from a position of strength. So if you don't have a lot of things going for you that are positive that you can give to another person, if you don't work on that first, the quality of, you can have all these like check boxes of I want
Yeah.
this and that, but you're not going to attract that. So, you can be pretty for a period of time and you can say all these pretty girls are able to get, but it's not long term. You want to be a good match. You want to have a good partnership with someone. You're going to co-parent human beings with this person and create like life and retirement with this person. And I think you have to work on, what do you have to offer?
I just want to link this to Ayushi. So, are you looking actively 24/7 to get married?
No, I'm not. I think as you know, like we talked about this before, I came out of like a long relationship, and then like the one person I sort of hung out with was like a love bomber situation, and so I'm just kind of like, I traveled instead. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know what like love bombing was before this, because I came from such a healthy relationship that I think I was vulnerable, that I didn't know that people did that kind of activity, love bombing. But like, I just realized for me, having fallen for that I just want to chill out for a little bit.
By the way, I didn't mean like trying to get married like 24/7. I think, just to clarify, like when you are like planning to like get married to someone, there's a lot of things that go in the mix, right? If the person is like long distance, then you're figuring out like, am I moving? Is he moving? So much of your mind is occupied, and like so much of your energy is occupied trying to figure out how the logistics of this is going to work. And that's what I mean by like,
Sure.
when you do find someone and you're like, okay, great, let's do this. But then you really have to think about, okay, how are families meshing? Like what do I do with my job? Like, where are we going to live? So that's what I mean by like trying to get married. Like it sort of like takes you away from like your passions and your dreams a little. Like I think my acting career took a major setback when I was like engaged, because we really had to figure out so many things. And like, because he had a job like that was full
But
time.
that's life. You got to sacrifice something.
So much of it had to be, and
I don't
that's
believe.
what I meant.
I don't believe in balance like that. I feel you got to give up something.
You have to, because I mean, how else would we like figure things out? Like he had a full-time job in New York, and I was like, okay, like, you know, I'd have to move because my job was very like up and down. So I was like, I'd have to move, like, let me figure this out, the logistics of it. So there's so much like mental energy that goes into that the last thing you're worrying about is like an audition and learning like 10 pages of dialogue.
But that's long distance in general, because I would say both people have to compromise if you have like a joint goal of trying to make things work. But if you're long distance, one of you have to move.
One of you has to move.
Whether it's him or her, like long distance, you're not even in the same city.
Yeah.
Someone has to make at least a location sacrifice.
Ritu, have you been in a long distance? I know you were in New York for a bit. Did you find love in New York City when you were living there?
I find love every day, Tarun.
I love how you laugh at your own jokes.
No, I'm laughing too.
Oh, really? I can hear you laughing.
Well, actually, before I answer that question, I'm curious to know your male perspective, like you said, on everything that we were just saying.
Well, I agree with you. I think the consensus is it does get more challenging as you get older, for sure. I think when you're younger, there's more freedom in dating. I feel like, in my opinion, I think people date. I don't think it's that carefree. I think people do date on potential, right? You're like kind of secretly gauging, oh, this guy's doing pre-med, this guy's doing this. Like my artist friends, it was almost like a gamble, you know, like, hey, this guy might make it, he might not. So this you know, and I've seen like marriages combust, like this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Ayushi said it's about stability, or who said that? You guys are all the
I
same
use
person.
that word a lot, so it probably is me.
No, but I do think it's about provider, right? You guys obviously have, I wish there was another person here, a guy, but I do think that females have biological need. Some do, to have children, some don't. And you want someone who's going to be able to provide for your family as well, not some degenerate gambler.
Also be stable yourself. Like I like Naomi's point about that. Like, you know, you also have to be like stable emotionally, physically, like to some extent, like know what your career looks like. What are your passions and everything? Like for me, I felt like with my like acting career, it was like so all over the place that like I couldn't provide someone that stability because I wasn't happy within myself. Now when I'm doing other things and finding like hobbies and like finding some sort of structure in my life, to her point, like I find so much joy in being me that now if I were to go into a relationship, I wouldn't be like, you are the center of my universe. And it's like...
That's dangerous. That's dangerous to do.
I really liked what she said about that like you want a stable partner, like someone who makes you feel safe, but you should also like know how to self-soothe and be safe on your own and stable on your own, because you'll also have to provide that to someone, and you also attract how you are.
And I think that, you know, when you were sharing about kind of like how it's work, right? What you were talking about was how it's worked in a relationship.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I wasn't saying like I'm like constantly on shadi.com like
but
yes, no, yes.
Is that still around, shadi.com?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh.
But to actually you know, to find a partner to be in a relationship is, I think, where we were also going.
Yeah,
because it sounded like, oh, it's work to get married. It's like a full-time job, right? Where it's like, yes, to find a partner that's a good match can be a challenge. And at the same time, it's a lot less work when you're very clear.
Yeah.
Because there might not be a balance, but I'm a big believer in harmony. So how can you harmonize your life? And so if you can harmonize together with all the different things you have going on, you have a good match. But if you are always kind of like at odds, then there's a tug of war taking place. And then that ends up breaking the spirit of the relationship, which then also ends up taking away from it being fun, and it feels like work and it's exhausting. If you want somebody available, be available. We're talking about like emotional availability.
Well, I'm out.
Was being referenced.
Emotional availability? No, I'm sorry.
Are you not emotionally available?
I don't think I am.
Have you gotten that note?
We've got a couple great sponsors. This episode's brought to you by Badmash. They make excellent oat milk chai. It comes in vegan. It's gluten-free. You can purchase it in multiple locations around Los Angeles, like Jones on 3rd, Cookbook, and Sua. Badmash Chai. Check them out. Another fantastic sponsor, Carbon Law Group, focuses on providing innovative and personalized legal solutions to small and growing businesses. Whether you're just starting or scaling up, they got you covered. With expert advice on contracts, trademarks, employment law, and much more. Carbon Law Group. Thanks so much for your sponsorship.
What is a note you've gotten in your relationships about
I don't know. Usually girls don't tell me to my face. Usually,
But like, sometimes you have like a post breakup thing when you're maybe like kind of chill with your ex. Do they ever say like,
Review.
like,
Yelp
what was your
review.
review?
I'll be honest. I blank my exes out. It's not even personal. I just think, hey, you know what? We have nothing. We don't share anything anymore. So I just X you out, and it's not personal at all. So I've never actually asked for that feedback, and it's healthy for me to move forward. I would say maybe that's what the feedback is this guy is just cold-blooded, maybe.
Anyone who spends a certain amount of time with you, you can take that with a grain of salt. But, a relationship is also a person you spend a lot of time with. So, I mean, feedback, I appreciate the feedback a little bit.
What's your feedback? I'm curious.
I've done a lot of the feedback giving.
No.
We don't want to hear about the giving. We want to hear about your feedback.
gotta take it to dish it.
I've gotten feedback that, I'm friends with, my one or two exes. And so...
See, that's a problem if I was dating you. I'd
No,
be like,
why? Why is the problem? Okay, let's talk about this. Why
okay,
is the
wait,
problem?
I don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry I keep interrupting.
I actually consider it a red flag if a male I would be dating does not have a single female friend. If you have, a healthy group of friends and none of them is a female, I feel like, do you not see platonic value in females? Are they only a romantic conquest?
So just to boil down what you said, the problem you get from guys is you have too many male friends.
No. Oh, the notes that I've gotten is that I overthink things. And I can
not too bad.
overthink situations, and I can get hurt easily by more like friendships and stuff. And so I've gotten the note that, hey, listen, like, take things with a grain of salt a little bit more. And I have really tried to, and I think I have incorporated that advice.
Ritu, what's your feedback from boyfriends?
I did to one ex actually in particular that I had spent a lot of time with. I was younger. He was like my maybe like second serious relationship. And so I did want to get his feedback. For him, the feedback was that I needed to be more independent. Because at the time he was a little older than me, not by much, but like he was a little bit older, but he was definitely more like, he was living on his own. He had his own like lifestyle, and I was still living at home. And, I think his concern was I didn't know how to be in the real world, like take care of bills and like, insurance and take care of just like adult things. And so I think like I wasn't
That's me now, by the way. Anyways, yeah.
But I think like for him, it was just like me learning to be independent was a big thing for him because, I don't think he wanted to have another like inherit a child and take care of a child basically. So that was one feedback. And then the other feedback...
There's a list of feedback, yeah.
Well, because there's like three things. But the other feedback he had given me, which was interesting, but we also had a very like aggressive relationship, but he said that I would get angry a lot. And so I was like, oh, but I realized
Maybe don't make me angry.
But I feel like that was our dynamic, where it's like, and I think it was more to do with like, pressing certain buttons because I'm very patient. And then when it blows, the casket blows, it blows. So like that was the feedback.
Look out, world.
Yeah.
Ayushi?
Okay, so my feedback, actually, my ex was really, really loving, very affectionate. So I really had to like push him to give me like feedback.
Yeah.
But then like one day he was like, okay, so listen, it's like you're very type A and you're very controlling. It's like, you want things done a certain way. And if it's not done that way, then you complain and you get like really like irritated or whatever, like how the dishwasher should be, racked or like wearing like ironed clothes or like how you make the bed or like, but even like about like life stuff, he was like, you're so type A about logistics. Like I understand that you're a producer, but can you just like chill? So he'd often be like, why don't you just relax? Like, why don't you just chill? Because when you are relaxed, you're so much fun to be around. But like sometimes you're just, so he would often like bring that up. He'd be like, you're just very like controlling.
Don't you feel like you would more likely listen to that advice,
of
not
course,
be in the relationship?
Definitely.
Because then it's like someone's not nagging. You're asking for that feedback. And
no, I really trusted him too. So I was like, no, thank you. Like, you're right. My parents say the same thing. They're like, sometimes you're really a pain in the ass to be around.
Everybody's got flaws, though. I hear everybody's feedback.
Did you answer your flaw?
Well,
He didn't get feedback.
He did
get
he
any
just
feedback.
pass it
I
on?
can
Well,
give feedback. You went on a date with me, I'll give feedback.
off one date?
Yes.
No, I want to know what his
Oh,
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
I want a more honest response.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I'm game. Yeah.
So Tarun's feedback is
Oh, okay.
that he is a lovely person to go on a date with. He's very sweet and caring, and like, you know, he'll hold your hand, like he'll pay for the whatever we're having, and like he'll make sure that you don't get deported. But I think what happened is that like you just like dismissed me, like. Like,
sounds like me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like, you know, we can see each other a few times, but like, you know, I'm not sure yet. Like, let's see each other a few times. But then you just like cut contact completely. And like, I think it was a way of like protecting yourself, maybe, that you were just like, okay, like, bye. And then after that, I didn't hear from you for like years. And I was like, is Tarun okay?
No, I promise you, that was not even
The
a
show
thought.
has changed.
I was like,
Why did you guys start with this?
I thought you liked
Oh, by the way,
me.
she has no idea what the hell we're talking about. She wasn't here for the
I
last
think she's
episode.
getting the gist of it. She's very smart.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the gist is that you guys
we
like
went on
sort
one
of
date.
dated, or
We went on one date, and he was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really sweet, and like I thought like he liked me and everything. But then like we exchanged a few texts, and I was like, let's get to know each other a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
And then he was just like, okay, bye. And I'm like, okay. And then he was just gone.
That sounds like me. I'm
Yeah.
not denying that. But the way I operate is like, if I don't hear anything back, I just assume the other person's not into me.
Yeah.
And so I just move forward. I'm like a shark. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep moving forward. Like I don't emotionally invest in people unless I get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably was just like, I'm trying to remember exactly, but it's hard for me. But I probably was like, okay, let me just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I get it. It's a
So-
defense mechanism for many people to be like, oh, you know what? I have to protect myself. So like, let me just cancel this person.
but we get the opposite advice.
I want to know something though, because he brought up a good point, and I don't know if it's a defense mechanism. Actually,
Yeah.
I would say that actually, like, did you give him any indication or inclination
Well, let's
that
go
you
through
were
the text
interested?
messages. I'm sure that chain is still there.
Like, did you actually like say, like, give him some sort of clue or hint?
Ayushi, are you there? I'm texting space. How come there's no response? That's what I said.
Wait,
to
no,
kidding.
I'm pretty sure I said something
I'm
like,
kidding. I made that up. I
Because
did.
everything we've been talking about
just
has
kidding.
been abstract
No, I think
conversation.
I
This
said
is like a
something
real thing.
Yeah, I think I said something like, I'm not sure yet. Like, you know, let's just see each other a few
Yeah,
times.
so
or
that's
something
kind of like
that.
a nice way to kind of like let a guy down. Where
No,
it's
but
like,
I like
hey,
seeing
I'm not
people a few
sure.
times before. Like, I can't be sure after one date.
No,
Not
no,
even
I
with
get
like my
it.
ex, I was, but like we
Yeah.
have to hang out a few times
Like-
for me to
Yeah,
be
no,
sure.
it's fair. I get that.
But
Yeah.
there was
Did
enough
that- I mean,
interest.
do you remember? Like, did that make you feel like, oh, she's probably not interested, or were you kind of like, oh, I should pursue this still?
No, I remember thinking that she wasn't interested, so I just kept moving.
Yeah.
So like, I'm very good at reading. Maybe I read too much. Like, I asked this girl out like a couple of months ago, and I was like, "Oh, we should hang out." And she goes, "I work." I'm like, "Oh, when do you not work?"
I work.
And she goes, "I work every day." And I was like, "Okay, I can read between the lines." So I'm very good. But some guys
But I
can't.
think some people are also jaded by dating that they're like, whatever.
But some people can't pick up social cues, and they
Yeah.
just keep pursuing. And I hate these beta dudes who just pursue. And I'm like, dude, man the fuck up. All right, dude, she's not into you. Stop pursuing.
But
Like,
I will say
hate
sometimes we're
that.
just not into people, like at first. Like, or we're like into them, but it's not like we're not sure.
If you haven't hung out a couple of times, you haven't gotten that like attachment. You know, the girl's not. You're still like in that
Yeah.
early phase. So I don't think it's a beta thing, whether you're male or female, to show interest. But I do know as females, through our friends, we are encouraged to like not come on too strong. So I think that there is, for better or worse, a little bit, it's skewed towards in the beginning that guys have to try a little bit more because they're battling that kind of inner conflict that females have about not coming on too strong early on. Like that's what we get nervous about. So you might be saying like, hey, I don't want to come off as a beta guy or whatever you're saying, but we come from the world of in the beginning, we don't want to be
Yeah.
overbearing. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
Man, I really wish there was another guy in this panel because I'm speaking. I don't want to
No,
represent all men.
yeah, I'd love to
But-
know your perspective. There's no correct perspective.
You're asking if guys should pursue the girl like, hardcore?
No, I'm saying something else. Like she brought this up in the context of, I don't know, I wasn't there in the last episode, but she was a little disappointed about there not being a follow-up? Or
Yeah, I think I'm just also just personally, me and my like girlfriends you're not gonna be sure of someone right off the bat. Like it's gonna take a few
have to
days.
try a little
so if
bit.
I'm saying honestly, like I'm not sure, but like let's hang out a few more times, I'm expecting the guy to be like, okay, great. Like you want to like hang out, you know, like let's go for a walk or like let's do some activity or like let's
I'm pretty sure. If you had said let's hang out a few more times, I'm not that cold where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ice this chick. I wouldn't do that. So I don't know if that. I'm gonna disagree with you. I don't know if that I actually got that. If you did, I didn't see it, so I apologize for that. So no, but
maybe I said something along those lines, but not exactly those words.
I remember thinking that she's not interested, and you know I went through like this train wreck of like this girls in my 30s where I was at that moment when I dated you where I was shifting like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus everything to me. Like I put so much energy and time into girlfriends, like just
I get it.
doing ridiculous things. Like if you had seen like Tarun, like, you know, buying like ridiculous cakes for birthdays and just, and I was like, what am I doing? Like I got to put that energy back into myself, and that changed my life.
Yeah.
So I think I was at that tipping point, and I think you were just at the, you got burned.
I have a question though.
Sorry.
how long ago
I
was
have a
it?
question though. Why, if you were interested in him and you were like, oh, I want to maybe like see this guy again, why didn't you reach out to him?
No.
Is it the pressure of not wanting to come on too strong?
Hold on.
She's saying interested, but I wasn't like super interested. I was just like curious. Like,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But
But
like
like,
I
if you
already
felt,
did. But I did, babe. Like I said, Ki, like let's like see each other. Like or like I'm not
No.
sure yet, but like maybe like let's get to
Right.
know each other more. That's all I'm gonna do. Like
Look.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty traditional that way. I'm not gonna be like,
oh no,
like
that
let's
was
meet
my
up.
no, that was my
Yeah.
question was like, if you didn't hear from him, if you were kind of like, oh, I'd hang out with him again, like. Why not message and be like, hey, what are you up to? You know, do you want to hang out
You
again?
can totally say you weren't into me. That's fine. But like, if there's no like burning to like hang out with this guy again, if I really liked a girl, I'd be like, dude, I got to figure out a way to hang out with this girl again. You know, man, when I was like 19, I knew nothing about girls. I met this girl at a dance club, and she like blew me off. And I remember showing up at her work the next day, and I was like, hey, what's up? You didn't get my text messages? Man, I cringe now in retrospect thinking about these memories because you gotta learn, right? But when you like someone, I feel like you gotta make that initiative to show that.
Yeah.
Because
Both
like, even
sides.
when I met my ex, right? Like I like the first date, like I thought I was curious about him, and I was like, yeah, he's cool. But I wasn't like, whoa, that's my husband. But he was persistent, like almost like immediately he was like, okay, cool, like let's meet again, like let's do this, let's do that, and like that was good for me because I like.
You wanted to be pursued.
She said she put it the right way. Like I wanted to be pursued.
Yeah, you wanted to be pursued.
But I like to mirror what the girl's doing. I don't want to over text. Like when I see a girl, like give me the one word answers, I'll give you the same one word answer back. I'm not gonna.
Really?
Yeah. If you're giving that to me, I'll give you the same exact energy back to you. I'm not gonna write these dialogues.
Do you think Desi girls are a little bit more conditioned to like want not the Shah Rukh Khan level of like courtship,
totally.
but you know we are a little, you know, there's a little bit of that in there.
I'm totally loony like that. I'm
Right?
like, you have to be SRK or nothing.
I think maybe because of the movies we watch. I mean, I don't want to blame everything on the media.
No,
'cause
it's true. though.
no,
We have
I
conditioning.
we have a conditioning.
Like, we're conditioned to understand what love is and what love isn't
Yeah.
based on Bollywood. Like it has psychologically
Yeah.
effed everybody up
100%.
in so many ways.
100%.
There's no denying that. So we have a lot of like undoing and unraveling, and even Bollywood is trying to undo and unravel some of the damage
Their
that
own
they've
industry,
done.
yeah.
Because they're starting to see, oh my God, we like built like this like hum sat saath hai equation for everybody.
Or like
but that's
dar.
actually not reality. Or
Yeah.
dar. Yeah, because for a while I wanted a guy. Me and my best friend
I didn't see
actually
that.
used to laugh.
What's-
It's a Yash Chopra movie. It has Sunny Deol and Shah Rukh Khan in it, and then Juhi Chawla. And so
It was obsessive.
Okay.
so he was obsessive. But the scary thing is when I watched that movie, I was like, my best friend wanted a guy that was like Sunny Deol, who was like, you know, strong, and she was in love with him, and he would like protect her. And I wanted a guy like Shah Rukh Khan, who was like obsessed. So I was like,
I get it. I get it.
Where's my Shah
I
Rukh
get
Khan?
it.
Why isn't he obsessed, trying to like break my relationship apart, and like trying to be the one to prove to me that he loves me
Do you
the most?
really want that though?
No, not anymore. I did at that time.
I get it.
I did at the time.
I
That
also get it. I get
message somewhat influenced okay, it influenced me. Like, I can't be interested in a guy who doesn't really, really like me.
Yeah. Like
it doesn't even do anything for me. I don't chase, but I don't think it's because like I'm too good to chase. It doesn't make me feel good.
The one thing I do know, and I'll stand by this 100%, when guys are too nice and, you know, oh my God, and they're just like always there and like always texting, you get bored. The nice guys do finish last. You got to have an edge.
I'm saying assertive. You have to be assertive. Like,
you could always overdo a good
nice
thing. It's not. I think that we got to not talk about extremes, right?
Yeah.
I love nice guys. I've always gone for the nicest guy in a room. But you know, you want somebody to have things that they have to have something going for them. So if they're busy, if they're working on something in their own life, they don't have time to be overbearing, but they can be very like, you know, show how much they care about you. I think it's not like it's this or this. Just be somewhere in the spectrum of being healthy, have self-confidence, but still go after what you want. And you can go after a girl that you really like and still be a confident guy.
100%. Yeah.
I forget. So the first episode aired, and I know you two weren't on it, but I already got like messages for you, and they were like, "Hey, can you hook me up with Naomi?" I've never even talked to these people, and they're like, "Can you hook me up with my friend?" I'm like, "So I don't know you, and you want me to hook you up with your friend?" By the way, thanks for watching. She's got her own phone. Don't message me. I want no more messages. I got like 10 messages already about Naomi.
So. I'm glad to hear it because I saw clips from the first episode. I'm like, wow, not my not my best, but
so all three of you will probably get messages after this. I'm sure it'll air.
That's the whole purpose of the show,
we'll get
right?
messages about you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not after what I've said to this podcast.
Us to send those messages along?
I think I've lost some points from this podcast, but it's okay.
But you know what? When we post pictures, like from afterwards, like when me, you, and Richard have hung out or whatever at the coffee shop, or, and you and I went to that one podcast event or whatever.
That was fun.
Without fail, somebody, at least 2 girls, will message me and be like, "Who's that? Are you dating him? Like,
right.
Who is that?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my friend."
And now you have feedback.
Like, da-da-da. Yeah, like, I'm just saying.
He's crazy.
You know, he's crazy. I mean, I didn't need to go out with you to know that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But everybody's got their craziness. It's just how you want to use it, I guess.
You know what it is, though? Like, I mean, how I have noticed, like, for example, I know you as a friend. I've always only known you platonically, right? I can't say based on knowing you platonically how you would show up in a relationship. Like, to me, it's just like, I can't even picture it. Like, I can't even connect. Like, so when you're saying like, "Oh, I brought like the big cakes and like I was doing like all this stuff," I'm like, really? Like, it just doesn't even click to me that you have that side to you.
I feel like I've just changed as a person. But yeah, I mean, look, as a guy, you watch movies or TV shows and you really fall in love. That's the thing. Like, you fall in love I would fall in love very easily. When I was dating, I had this thing of like, "Oh, I'm going to get married by this day. I'm going to have this career. None of that shit happened." And that's almost good because it makes you spiritually grow, right? These expectations that are unfulfilled.
I think also we don't talk enough about the heartbreak that men go through or the rejection that they face. And
Puddle of tears. Yeah.
Yeah, like women, like there are movies, endless movies about women, you know, going through heartbreaks and stuff like that. I don't think we talk enough about that kind of pain that a man goes through, and like that they also suffer a lot. Like it takes them really long to get over some relationships.
So I would hate to be a guy. I would hate to have to ask out
like
girls.
Bollywood reference.
Yeah. Dave Thus was all about the guy's heart.
Yeah, but like you don't see it. Like I do feel like, you know, if I've ever been hit on, it depends, you know, if someone is doing it in a way that is disrespectful, you know, that's different. But I do appreciate that it takes courage nowadays to go up to someone in person, especially since you have apps, you have like DMs and stuff like that. Because I try to put myself in that position and I can't deal with rejection well, or, you know, I have like social anxiety about asking someone a question and them saying no or being mean to me. And so guys have to do that on a consistent basis. And I do feel that, you know, that's hard.
Yeah, my ex used to talk about that a lot. And like, he would be like, you know, anytime I go anywhere, like I have to approach a woman, like a woman will never approach me. And do you realize like every time you approach someone, you get rejected or you sense rejection, it like really crushes your spirit. And I was like, wow, like, no, I never thought about it, like what a man has to go through.
I don't do that.
What?
I don't approach women.
Oh, okay. They just come up to you.
It's hard, or
I'll just put everything into myself, and if I meet the right person, so be it. And if I don't, that's fine.
you meet people because you're in the same place as them, right? Someone has to start a conversation.
Well, that's why I do a podcast, so I can meet women. This is all a trial
I thought you were
ground.
joking about this before, but I think it's true.
We're just three women. It's like his personal swimmer. Like, you know, like where it's like you should have actually been asking us questions of like, you know, who would make a good partner.
I think that's what he's doing right now. Like, who's going to walk away with the rose?
I'm taking notes on my phone.
Bachelor.
It's the Bachelor. Who walks away with a chai?
Yeah, who's going to walk away with the child?
No. Well, look, we've got much more to talk about. We definitely need a Richard next podcast. Come back, Richard. Real quick, where we can find you so our listeners and viewers can check you out.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, naomi.parmar, and on the Convo Sutra. Oh my God.
Do you know what? You've done 3 episodes.
I meant to say Convo Sutra. Okay. That's a good play on words.
There's a sign behind you. No.
I had other things on my mind.
You can find me at Ritu Talks on Instagram, and yeah, that's about it.
You can also find me on Instagram at Ayushi Chhabra official.
And you can find me, Tarun Shetty, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Please like, subscribe, share. If you want to be a part of this, please sponsor. Also, shout out to you podcasters, studios, for having us. We do appreciate it. This is a beautiful space. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks. Take care.